I'm here to apologize for my actions. I have to admit, I am not a perfect person. I have taken some time to reassess and reevaluate my life. And I am just really, really sorry that this video took so long to come out. I mean, it's been like a year and like this costume has just been done and dusted for that long. Like, I'm sorry about that. You know what? Let me get my ukulele. Hey everyone, this is how I made my Miles Morales Across the Spider-Verse cosplay. To start off, like every other Spider-Man cosplay, we need a pattern. And for this specific costume, I chose ATXSpider's pattern. It's probably the most accurate and easiest sewing pattern I've seen for this specific costume. And while it is literally perfect, I did make some modifications to it. After I uploaded the pattern into Photoshop, I decided I wanted to take off all the textures on it just so I can make it more printer friendly. So I did that. And then I also decided to make some cuts around the pattern, mainly around the gloves because I wanted separate gloves. And then I cut off the legs at the knees, and then I believe somewhere on the arm. This was all just to make transferring it over to our special screen printed fabric a lot easier, and because they only came in sheets, not in like a giant yard kind of situation. And then I printed it out using Adobe Acrobat. You just use Adobe Acrobat's poster function and it'll print out the entire pattern into separate sheets of paper, which you can then just kind of tape together. So to best try to replicate the costume, I really wanted to implement the halftones or like the Ben-Day dots that the movie suit kind of does. You know, in certain lighting, you can kind of see like white dots on like the edges, or like even like when there's certain lighting scenarios, the kind of fabric color kind of changes. So to do that, I used clear dot spandex from Spandex World. But I didn't stop there because I wanted to replicate the kind of S texture that the suit has in the movies. I contacted an amazing artist and screen printer, Gavin Kelson, and he was able to screen print on top of that. It turned out beautifully. It looks just like the movies. I was very, very happy with it. And then for like these little armor bit pieces that go along the costume, like at the back, the abs, the arms, and like the shins and knees, I used this matte metallic black spandex that I also found from Spandex World. And then once I had all of the fabrics I needed for this, I transferred over the pattern to the fabric. Usually I would do this on like the back side of the fabric, but because I wanted to make sure that the little S's would flow correctly, I actually transferred it on the front of the fabric. And then it's time to get to sewing. I can't tell the footage apart just by looking at it, so I'm going to let Editing Johnny take that over for the sewing sections. After transferring over the pattern to the fabric, you should be left with pieces for the front, pieces for the back, pieces for the legs, pieces for the arm, a couple of foot pieces, glove pieces if you decided to make them separate like me, and of course the mask. Now we're going to start off by sewing the mask. You should have 2 side pieces, a long mid piece, and 2 smaller back pieces. Now we're actually going to start off by sewing the invisible zipper to the 2 back pieces. When sewing invisible zippers, I like to use an invisible zipper foot so I can get as close to the teeth without actually sewing them. And then I also like to use a normal straight stitch. Next, we're going to sew the 2 back pieces to the front piece. I don't know where that footage went, but I did it. I swear to God. Once that is done, we're going to go ahead and attach the 2 side pieces to the main long piece, just going along from one side to the other, making a full mask. When sewing the two pieces of fabrics together, I like to use a straight stretch stitch to start, and then going back in once I'm finished with a, oh god, what's it called? I'll put it up on screen right now. I use that one to kind of finish it off. And there we go, we have a fully sewn mask, and we just gotta hem the bottoms. Next up, we're going to focus on sewing up the shirt, and we're going to start off by sewing these two pieces together. Once that's done, we're going to connect this smaller piece to this H-looking piece. After that, we're going to go ahead and connect the two pieces we just sewn so we can make a larger torso piece. Now before we sew in the red side pieces, we're going to jump to the back so we can sew in this heart-shaped looking piece into the back.
And I have to interrupt here because we have to talk about the logos at this point. Now, the logos for this specific Spider-Man could be done in a couple of different ways. You could puff paint it. You could even just like paint it on with a brush or like a sponge. You can maybe like make a urethane casting of them. But I wanted something cheaper and more accurate to Miles, I guess. I decided I wanted to actually spray paint the logos on using this tulip fabric spray paint that I got at my local craft store, Michael's or a Hobby Lobby or a Joann's, somewhere, craft stores, sewing fabric stores. So in order to get accurate spiders, I believe I got the logos from ATXSpider's pattern. They were included in there. And I use Adobe Acrobat to get in like an accurate size of what they are to the pattern. I lined the back of the papers with masking tape. And this was to give it some structure and not have it to fall apart, because this is our stencil. By the way, this is our stencil. I didn't mention that. Using an X-Acto knife, I cut out the spiders meticulously. I wanted to do that rather than just try to grab some scissors, because we're gonna need the spiders so we can align everything correctly, because like the front logo has a lot of spots that are just not connected to anything, so we want to keep that spider intact so that we can use it to kind of place it correctly. To make sure that the pieces didn't move everywhere, because there are a lot of smaller pieces on that spider again. God damn those designers. I used tack spray, not spray adhesive. We're not trying to glue down the stencil necessarily, we're just trying to get some tack on there to kind of make it stick. So I individually tacked on all the pieces meticulously, and then it was time to spray paint. I used a base coat of white because if you ever try to spray paint red on black fabric, you know it doesn't work. It just doesn't. That's not how color theory works, I guess. That's what my girlfriend tells me. So I laid down a base coat of white, just like a couple of layers on top of that, and then I went in with the red. The red looked beautiful on it, honestly. I couldn't ask for a better result on them. It just really ended up working out, and I'm glad that it kind of matches the red on the bleeding armpits sections, but it doesn't match 100%. And I kind of do wish that I just kind of went in and made like an entirely black undersuit and spray painted on all the red details. I feel like that would have been a lot better. You could do that for your suit. Try that out. Tell me how it works, because I wish I really did it now, and I don't feel like remaking the suit. Anyways, back to sewing.
Now that we have our logos on, we can go ahead and sew in the red sides to the front. Now we can move on to the arms. We're going to go ahead and start by sewing this Y looking piece to this H looking piece. Next, we're going to go ahead and sew the forearm to the H looking piece, completing a mostly finished arm. Once that is done, we're going to go ahead and sew the teardrop looking piece to the Y piece. To finish up the arm, we're going to go ahead and sew in the red piece to the whole thing. Once you have this piece sewn on, you should have something like this, and then we're gonna go ahead and make a full shirt. First off, we're gonna sew in an invisible zipper on the side of the neck that kind of goes down towards the shoulder rather than just straight down. That's something I really like about ATXSpider's pattern. And you can see there, I marked down where the zippers begin and end so I can get an accurate sewing job of the same length. Once the zipper is sewn in, we're just going to go ahead and close off the rest of that seam at the bottom of the armpit, and then we're going to go ahead and just sew the arms to the two torso pieces, the front and the back. And then we can go ahead and sew the arm up to complete, well, the arm. To complete the shirt, we're going to go ahead and sew in two invisible zippers on the sides, going from the red section and then to the back. Once you've sewn in the zipper, you should have a completed shirt, just like this. Then it's time to move on to the legs. Now, we're gonna go ahead and start off by sewing these black armor pieces to the front and the back of the leg. Once that is done, we're going to go ahead and sew in this red strip to the two pieces we just sewed. Next, we're going to go ahead and sew in this shin armor piece to the bottom of the leg. To connect everything together, we're going to go ahead and grab this knee armor thing, and then just sew everything to that. Once that is done, we're going to go ahead and connect these two foot pieces from the top. Once that is done, you're going to go ahead and sew the foot to the rest of the leg, and then you're going to go ahead and start forming the pants, first by sewing together the crotch and then the butt crack. Now, I don't know where the footage for this section went, but I can tell you that you just need to sew up the inseam of the leg. So starting from the bottom of the foot, going all the way around up to the crotch and down to the next foot. Then it's just time to sew the front of the shirt to the front of the pants. To complete the bodysuit, we're going to go ahead and sew in a jacket zipper at the bottom of the back and the top of the back of the pants. This is so that we can kind of create an enclosure like the MCU suits use. If you did it correctly, you should be able to tuck in the jacket zipper ends between the invisible zippers, hiding them and creating a kind of seamless look. Last thing up is to sew up the glove, and that's kind of pretty self-explanatory. I just sewed in the little arrow piece into the main black part and then sewed on the red to the black. If you decided to keep the gloves attached to the rest of the costume, this step would be done with the rest of the arm. Now, another thing to mention is that if your hands are on the bigger side, mine are kind of on the smaller, you might need to sew in these gussets. These will allow for more room in the fingers when you're trying to wear them.
Now, the Faceshell and Lenses. This specific Faceshell files were by LDS3D. This is his Into the Spider-Verse files. They work really well. I do love the shape that it gives my head, and like I love the big lenses. However, it is a little big on my head. The old head scan I was using, I think it had a bit of a fuller face, if you will, back then. It's like 2 years old now. So yeah, I think the head scaling was just wrong because it does give me a little bit of a back there. Another file I would recommend that I'm probably gonna have to reprint for this specific cosplay in the future are sensational props of Across the Spider-Verse files. I think those are a little bit better for this specific cosplay just because it's for the Across the Spider-Verse suit, and you can change out the eyes. I think that's a really cool function. There are just a bunch of magnets on there, and then you can switch out the eyes. I think I might look into doing that definitely in the future for this cosplay. But for now, this will work, and I have a bunch of Faceshell tutorial videos out there, and there are a bunch out there.
Here's a quick time lapse anyways.
I also decided to glue down the mask to the face shell. You can see kind of here the magnets poking out of the mask. I did that because I wanted to test it out. I wanted to experiment a little bit, like what are the benefits, or if there are any, to having a mask that's glued down to a face shell. There aren't that much. It's always perfectly aligned. You never have to worry about that. Other than that, there's not really that many benefits, honestly. I think I will do it again, and I have done it since, and there were definite benefits to that. I will get into that into the future. But yeah, you don't really have to glue down your face shell for this one. It's okay if you don't. I just did it to experiment, and it worked. It kind of worked, it kind of didn't. I can't really use this face shell with any other mask anymore, so it's up to you if you want to glue down your mask to your face shell. There are some benefits, a lot of cons. Ah, yes. And then finally, the shoes. Not gonna lie, I kind of got a little lazy, and I did want to kind of experiment too. So what I simply did was I got these red soled shoes off of Amazon, and then I literally just glued down the costume on top of the shoes. I used like hot glue, and like I trimmed the edges. That's all I did. I feel like that is appropriate for a Spider-Man cosplay, and it looks good, and the shoes are comfortable. I feel like I can just like walk around in them all day. It worked just fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You can barely tell. It looks and feels just fine. It is hard to put them on though, not gonna lie. It's not perfect, but it works. It works. That's the point.
Hello, hi. Hopefully this is better audio than before. Probably is. So yes, that is how I made my Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse cosplay. This was probably one of my easier projects that I've attempted to do. Honestly, the hardest part was the sewing, but even that wasn't that bad. ATXSpider did an amazing job making the pattern very easy to understand and sew. So yeah, I just had a good time making it, and then obviously I really love the movies. I've said this before, I think, in an Instagram post. What are your top 3 favorite Spider-Man adaptations? And it was Miles Morales from Across the Spider-Verse / Into the Spider-Verse / Beyond the Spider-Verse, the Insomniac games, Spider-Man, and the Spectacular Spider-Man. Those are my top 3. And the first one won an Oscar, so yeah, why wouldn't I want to cosplay this character? It's one of the best adaptations of Spider-Man. And also just want to thank everybody whose products I've used along this project. Here they are. Make sure to follow them. And I do want to take a sec to talk about the future of the videos, I guess. So what I really have planned for right now is just to do like 1 video a month, you know, for the rest of the year. Just see how that goes, how I feel about that. I really enjoyed making the last video, and then I think I'm gonna have a good time editing this video. The next video will be me announcing what my next project will be, so make sure to subscribe or just check back in to see when that happens. Make sure to hit that notification bell. That felt really cringy to say, but that's basically the only way you're gonna know when I upload, or just by viewing my community posts. I post there, or follow me on Instagram. That I post a lot on there too. So yes, 1 video a month for the rest of the year. When those dates are gonna be random. I just chose this because I knew you guys wanted this video to be out as soon as possible, so that's what's going to happen. I tried to make it come out as soon as I could. Hopefully this video is serviceable. I know it's a different style than you guys are probably used to, but I wanted to explore different styles. In the next video, I'll definitely be exploring a different style of filmmaking, video making. Just to be a little creative and fun, you know. Just be a little creative and have fun, you know. Why not? Nothing's stopping me. But yeah, oh yeah, I guess I still gotta explain what Purple Otter Workshop is. So what Purple Otter Workshop is I'm sorry, I think I have a package. I'm gonna go receive that right now.